Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm sharing with you my infamous recipe of my pickled tomatoes. Yep, you heard me right, pickled tomatoes. Those guys are absolutely lovely. Anybody who ever tried them wants to have the recipe because they are just amazing. So in this one here, I've got some cherry tomatoes. And you can generally, as an old-fashioned recipe, as grandma used to make it, you make it with a big garden tomato. So I will be doing it once I grow my own. However, I kind of missed this recipe and I thought I'll do a couple of batches. So I did a few weeks back and I thought I'll share the recipe with you. So it's really straightforward one, guys. And the beauty of this one, you don't need a pressure canner to can them, nor do you need to water bath can the tomatoes, because we have plenty of acidity, because I know there's a lot of things on the internet and it's sort of conflicting information and opinions about the tomatoes and the pH level of the acidity to make sure that they are safe to consume. However, because we are using vinegar as an additive in our brine, they are absolutely fine and absolutely safe, and I've been doing them for years, and obviously my grandma's been doing it for years before me, so this is all absolutely fine and absolutely safe. So one of the first things, guys, is to make sure, like with any preserve, any canning, follow the disinfection procedure and make sure that your jars are sterile and clean. It's very, very important in anything you ever do. Sterilization, cleanliness of the jar and your hands and anything else, it's paramount. So as for the video, I'm doing only a 1 liter one just to demonstrate it. So all we need is the 1 liter jar with the lid. I've got some tomatoes, I've got some salt, I've got some sugar, so I've got the big tablespoon, like a soup spoon of sugar, sugar and salt. I'm using the brown sugar because I just find it just gives it a better taste. I have some pickling spice, which I make my own. I've put the link down to I've done a shorts video, so hopefully I'll be able to link this up upstairs there somewhere for you to have a look. But you can buy one if you can find it, that's absolutely fine. However, it's the best if you do make your own because the proportions are there, and I've been doing this recipe for ages, for years, so it's really, really good. I strongly suggest. So first things first, guys, we wash tomatoes. So we're gonna put them in the jar. And you guys, you got to make sure that all the tomatoes are pristine. We can't have anything that's got any of the dents, basically anything that's not perfect. We don't want it. Don't forget, with the preserves, it's only the best that goes in there. And again, make sure they taste okay, because some tomatoes in UK are awful, especially the ones in the bags, not in the packets. And they are just horrible. They taste like nothingness. Plastic tomatoes, that's what I call them. Right, so it's about 2 packs gone in there. Right, so first of all we're going to do, I'm just going to warm up the kettle. It's just finished boiling before the video, but I'm warming it up. We're going to put some hot water in the tomatoes and we're going to let them sit for 10 minutes. And we're going to do this 3 times. Let that finish first. So hold on. Bad idea, and do this under the cupboard, I know. Right, let's turn you off now, you're boiling. Right, sorry guys, I boil my poor little alocasia. Right, so pouring it in there. Make sure the tomatoes are covered. So basically, guys, we're doing this for a couple of reasons. First of all, we are disinfecting jar yet again. We're disinfecting the tomatoes. We are making sure that tomatoes are kind of cooking slightly to give them that consistency, because obviously they're going to be sitting in a brine, and if we were to water bath can it, we'll literally make the tomatoes into the mush because we boil them and they'll just overcook. So the idea of the water is that we'll pre-cook the tomatoes if you wish, because we're doing this 3 times. It softens the skin, so and it will crack in some places, that's fine, so the vinegar can penetrate. But literally we're doing this 3 times, and when I do this 3rd time, we'll be there, then we'll get to start on our brine. So I'm going to do this off camera twice, okay, and I shall see you on the last attempt when we're making some brine. So the tomatoes are now soaking for the 3rd time in boiling water. They have changed the color slightly, and as I said, some of them have cracked the skins, which is absolutely fine because we want the vinegar to penetrate through. So now is a perfect time. I'm keeping the water there because it's still hot, and at the same time it's warming up our jar. So when we put the hot boiling brine in there, it basically kind of preserves or stops the jar from cracking. Right, so for this one, we'll need approximately, and there's always left over, 750 milliliters of water. And the best thing, guys, is to use the filtered water or bottled water. In it goes in there. I'm going to put the hob on. If I can see what I'm doing behind the handle. Okay, so we want to bring this to the boil. So we're putting in 3/4 cup of a vinegar. Like I said, a big, like a soup spoon of salt. Big soup spoon of sugar. So we're going to mix it up. Make sure it's all dissolved. And I've got my trusted wooden spoon. You would not believe, guys, we've been given this by my parents for our first wedding anniversary. I think it was first one or second one. Anyway, this thing is like 20 something years old. It's wearing off around, but it's the best thing ever. And I bought some from IKEA, bought some new ones, bigger ones, but they're not the same because they're not 20 years old. This thing is great. Love it with the cooking, and guys, with I don't know whether you have, let me know in the comments down below if you've got anything that's sort of been passed through, like, not like an heirloom if you wish, but it was a new one, but just so old, but I just refused to let it go because it still works as wood. It's fine, you know, and it adds on flavour to certain things, if you believe it or not. Right. Yeah, let me know, please. I would like to know if people got it, or is it just me holding on to one little spoon that's 20 years old? Right. So sugar pretty much dissolved. I'm going to add on, okay, I've got my dill flour. I've got my own dill, and I collect the little dill flowers because they're for pickles, especially for tomatoes and cucumbers. They're absolutely perfect. I'll put half of this in the jar afterwards. So I've got my spice mix, and I'm going to put in good, because I've got a little teaspoon, I would say probably 3 little teaspoons. Again, if you don't like certain things, guys, you can omit from there. As I said, if you watch the video for the short, it tells you what's in the mix, but you can kind of adjust it to your taste, really. But I normally don't like to just say this to people because I think when it's a recipe, right? But recipes there to be changed, I suppose, like rules to be broken. I would like canning tomatoes. What a thought. So all we want to do is to basically just bring this to a boil and make sure that the spices get really hot and get the aromas out of them, and then we're going to pour them on tomatoes. But I'm going to drain this last minute, so let me just bring this to the boil. Don't forget, guys, you can taste it as you go, okay, and you can change stuff, really. You could add on a bit more, a bit sugar, or a bit more salt, or a bit more vinegar, depending. Do bear in mind, though, the hot, when it's hot, the liquid is hot, it tastes kind of different. So when things are cooled down, it's a bit less pungent, like with the vinegar. Do you know what I mean? If you just suddenly take a spoon and go, whoa, because it's hot and vinegar and the vapors, it kind of changes the perception slightly. So do bear in mind that when it cools down, it does changes a little bit. So all the spices are now coming up to the top. We can put it in a minute. But we're pretty much there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to now drain my tomatoes. And as I said, do this like a last minute so the jar is still warm and it can take the boiling hot brine. Still warm to touch, which is really good. Okay, I'll put that there. You can see the tomatoes shrunken down a little bit, which is absolutely fine. So it gives me space to put my little dill flour. Okay, let's turn that down because that's certainly done now. Okay, I'm going to just take a pinch like that. You don't have to do this because there's a dill seeds in there, but I like to do it. And I also quite like to put the whole bay leaf. I haven't done this for this one anyway, but you could do. The bay leaves give it a really amazing taste. Right, so let's get that in. So it's now boiled. All the spices are floating. So we're going to now pour this in as quick as we can. Do we are going to have some left over. It's really hard to judge unless you pre-do the run of the water and vinegar, but I will use whatever left over afterwards for something else. Okay, so again, going down, make sure we fill it up pretty much to a bit of rim in there. Okay, we'll put the lid on. Make sure it's not finger tight because we're not putting it into the water bath. It's tight because we are turning it upside down. Okay, old-fashioned way, I think, well, because my grandma, that's how she used to do this. Again, is upside down. Because we're not putting this in a hot environment, the vacuum needs to be created within to seal this. So having a hot liquid underneath, it kind of warms up the little, not say the glue, but the little thingy inside the little lids. It warms it up and it will seal itself to the bottom of the jar. So, not bottom of the jar, the top of the jar itself. So we are, guys, going to be leaving this for 15 minutes upside down, and then we'll basically put it the correct way up, and we put this away in a dark room or whatever, in a cupboard, whatever else, and it is ready in 30 days. Because those tomatoes are little, the brine will penetrate a bit quicker than if you suddenly put like a massive tomatoes. Because I remember my grandma used to do the big jars, you know, the big, in the fish and chip shops in here in the UK, you can have those like a 5 or 7 litre things, and I would love to have those jars. I know I can get some pickles from Booker's from there, but they're quite expensive for the sake of a jar. And I know I can buy the jars, but they're expensive. Nonetheless, the whole idea is you do use like a big tomatoes, and they will take quite a bit longer. However, in 30 days, they're ready to eat. And basically you will have something like this ready to eat. And it depends what you like, you know, it depends what you eat the pickles with. I just love pickles anyway, and tomatoes, if you guys follow the channel, I mentioned this on many occasions. Tomatoes for me is like childhood obsession, and I just eat tomatoes. I love tomatoes. To me, it's like, I don't care about chocolate. I could live without chocolate. Could I live without tomatoes? No. And anything, any sort of edible salad, or if you have cheese board, anything, those things are just super tasty. I do encourage you guys to try this if you haven't, and for many of you, I know that'll be news, like, oh my god, there's like pickling tomatoes, like how weird is that? It is the best thing, honestly. If you love tomatoes, you're gonna absolutely love this. So here we are, this is the final result. As I said, obviously I'm gonna store them without the jars off, but you can see they are sealed, ready to go. And they are ready to eat, so I shall enjoy some probably later on with maybe a shot of vodka or something, I don't know, we'll see. Anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and it's literally as simple as, yes, please, thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I shall see you on the next one. Bye bye.